Okay, everyone, we are live now. Yeah, it's been a long time that we did any live session. It's been months, I guess. And I thought it would be the right time that we should be doing a regular live session because we have this ongoing CK series going. So if you can hear me, if you have joined, please let me know in the comments. Let me know from where you have joined and if you have followed the CK series yet or not. Like, just let me know and we can start with the question answer soon, but I'll just give a few minutes for people to join. We have just started it. So I see some questions already. Hello Shubham, hello cross minded ninja. I'll definitely answer your questions. Just allow me few minutes. Just allow a few minutes for others to join. Okay, so we have 10 people joined already. Hello everyone. Just say a quick hi in the comments below. Let me know from where you are joining, and I can definitely answer your question. And like we can have some discussion, some regular chit chat. Hello Anshita. Hello Saddam. Hello Shubham. Hello ATQ Swag. Hello Saddam from Pakistan. Tells joining from Rachi. Hello Sham. Anshita from Hyderabad. Hello Daniel. Hello Pale. Hello Vamshi. And Vamshi is also from Hyderabad. So yeah, just give me a few more minutes. And hello Rahul from Bangalore. All right. Okay. So I mean, we can start taking questions. So let me know whatever you would want to discuss, or if you have any general question, any question related to CK, Kubernetes, or whatever we have covered so far. So we have 4 videos covered till now, and we can discuss anything about that. Hello, Jen Ranpia, welcome. So let's start with the first question. So Shubham is asking, for this K tutorials, which cloud are we going to use? It is AWS, Azure, or GCP? So Shubham, yes, that's the most frequently asked question. A lot of people have asked this question, and answer to that question is none. We won't be using any cloud provider for this tutorial. The reason being, when you use a managed Kubernetes service such as GKE, AKS, or EKS, or anything else like OCP, OpenShift Cloud Platform, right? So when we use the managed cloud provider um, for a Kubernetes service, a managed Kubernetes service, that means your cloud provider is responsible for managing the control plane. So all the administrative components will be taken care by them. Upgrades will be one click. Installation is super easy, and there is not much learning for you to do if you are a beginner to Kubernetes, right? Like I work with Google, I work with GKE. As a cloud provider, I am responsible for maintaining control plane, but for my customers it is abstracted. They don't have access to the control plane node, which is why we are not using any cloud provider for this series. We will be doing local installation. We have various other ways we can do the local installation, like we have Minikube, if you have heard of it. And but we are not using Minikube, we are using Kind cluster. So Kind is Kubernetes in Docker. So we run, it's basically run your Docker containers, and those containers will act as Kubernetes node, like control plane nodes and worker nodes and so on. So that's one way we are doing. The other ways, we will be spinning up virtual machines. It could be locally or it could be on cloud, and then we'll use the kubeadm tool for the installation and upgrade, right? And we'll also be doing the installation the hard way, the Kubernetes installation the hard way, which is doing everything like installing every single binary on the virtual machines and then join the worker nodes with the control plane and so on. So yes, so because our main goal is not to just complete the series or not to just understand the basic concepts. Our main goal is end-to-end learning of Kubernetes. Our main goal is to complete um, the entire CKA curriculum with all the fundamentals included and with all the learnings included. So that is why our main preference will be local Kubernetes installation, because then you will be managing everything on your own. You have access to each of the control plane nodes. You can do whatever you want with your cluster. But that doesn't mean we will not be covering any managed Kubernetes service. So once we are done with this series, maybe we'll start with a dedicated series for, let's say, either GKE, AKS, or EKS, whatever. We can do that afterwards, but not as part of this series. I hope, like, I took some time, but I hope I was able to answer this question. So the next question by cross-minded ninja. Okay, no, that's not a question. Okay, so it's an appreciation. So thank you so much. I feel safe when being taught to you, knowing I'm in the right hand. So yeah, thank you so much. I am sure you won't be disappointed. I'll try my best. Okay. Hello everyone else. We have a few more. Okay. We have a question from Dev Smita Sahu. How to give answer to the question like which tools are you using in the project, like Minikube, CubeADM, or what? See, um, I have actually covered this in the series, so you'll get to know later on. But to answer it now, Minikube or kind cluster that I've mentioned, these are mostly used for your POC or for your learning purpose, for your local installation, right? Because it's based on um, the single node, right? So you actually use the single host, and then you, with the help of virtualization, you actually divide that into multiple nodes and so on. So again, there is a single point of failure, and it does not come with every single feature of Kubernetes. It has its own limitations. So that is why Minikube, kind, we don't use that for production cluster, right? So for production cluster, what we use is, yes, kubeadm installation, we can do that, but again, it comes with a lot of administrative efforts. That means you have to have a dedicated team that is responsible for regular upgrading the cluster, for maintenance, for all the operational, all to apply all the security patches and so on. So ideally, in an organization, uh, they prefer to go with the managed cloud service, either let's say GKE, AKS, or EKS. So in that, you won't be using any of these tools, or you actually do the setup with the kubeadm on your local data center. Like we have vSphere, right, which is VMware, by VMware. You can do that. You can spin up a cluster on VMware using kubeadm, and there'll be multiple control plane components, there'll be multiple worker nodes, or you can do the installation on bare metal, or you can use other cloud providers such as OpenShift, or we have Rancher as well. I'm not sure, but yeah. So Minikube, Kind, K3s, these won't work well for a production cluster. These are just for your learning purpose, for your local installation, for your POC, and so on, right? I hope that answer your question. Okay, so ATK swag, I don't understand the question. It says Docker volume, but like, what do you mean by that? If you mean like when are we covering it or we have left it, so don't worry. Docker volume, there is a dedicated video for Docker volume. It's, I guess, it will be there in the GitHub repository. You can find the details from there, but it will be one of those videos where I will be actually discussing Docker storage and Docker volume in detail, right? Just before the Kubernetes storage section. So, yes, there'll be video. Don't worry about it. So, the way I have structured this is, let's say I have covered the few fundamentals of containers. Okay. So, what are containers, how it works, multi stage build, how to Dockerize an application, and then why do we need Kubernetes? And then I'll jump to the Kubernetes portion, right? Then in Kubernetes, we'll be covering a lot of control plane type of scenarios. Then we'll move into different Kubernetes objects like pods, containers, services, daemon sets, jobs, services, and so on. And then once that part is done, there'll be another section, and then there'll be section of storage. And just before the storage section, I have covered Docker volume and Docker storage. So it will be there. Don't worry. Okay, how much RAM required for K8s cluster? So it actually depends what type of cluster you are provisioning, right? So if you are using kind cluster, which I have used for the first few, like I have used almost for the first 15-20 videos, kind cluster. So you can look for, or let me just provide you the details. So if you go to this doc over here, let me ping it. So Okay, so I've just pinged it, and let me just pin it over here. So this is the URL where you can find the details about the requirement. This is the way we have set up the cluster for the first few videos. I believe the minimum required RAM is 4 GB and recommended is 6 GB. That's what it says, but you can find that in the documentation section. Yeah. Okay, let's take the next question. Okay. Hello, Devashi. Nice to hear from you. I hope you are doing well. Okay, Srinath, do we need to know more about volumes and networking in Docker in depth? Yes, we need to know. It's one of the prerequisites for Kubernetes. So before understanding how volume work in Kubernetes, you need to understand how it works in Docker, and the same way for networking. So yes, we'll be having separate dedicated video for Docker volumes, for Docker networking, and so on. So don't worry. Please start EKS after that. Yes, I will definitely. So the way I create playlist is I create multiple community polls. I actually ask my viewers and subscriber on different platforms like YouTube, Discord, Twitter, and then I ask them what they want me to cover next. And based on the maximum number of votes that I get, I work on the playlist. Right. So it's not my decision which managed service I will be covering. I will be giving options for different services, EKS, AKS, or GK. I don't have any issues in explaining either of those because I have worked in all the managed cloud providers. I have worked with EKS, AKS, and GKE. I have been working for past almost 3 years. So I don't have any issues covering any of the service. It just my viewers poll matters on that. So whatever uh, votes I get maximum for any managed service, I will try to cover that. Okay. Pawan, would you suggest Podman instead of Docker? Yes, you can work on Podman. It's basically the same. It's basically a platform that helps you build and run containers, just like Docker, but it's not that popular as Docker. So that is why I have gone ahead with the industry standard that is the de facto for the industry nowadays. So that's why I've used Docker, but feel free to use Podman. The main idea is you should understand the underlying concepts of containers, and it doesn't matter which platform you are using, right? Like the way if you are moving to managed cloud service, it doesn't matter if you are working on GKE, AKS, or EKS. You need to understand the Kubernetes basics for that, because all of these managed services are built on top of Kubernetes. So yeah. Hello, Vinay. Hello, Sarthak. I hope you guys are doing well. Hello, Devarshi again. A great series on CK. Loved it. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for your support and everyone else support. I really appreciate it. Okay, then we have Trade with CK. Hello, hello, Anurag. And we have Saddam. Will this course include production issues and their solution that you faced? And also, will you teach third-party tools like KDA too? Okay, so this is the same question that yes, I have answered it again multiple times on my YouTube comments. So production issues and solution that you have faced, I won't be covering a lot of those. The reason being, yes, there'll be some Kubernetes specific issues. The reason being, on production, I work with the managed Kubernetes service, which is GKE. Right? It has a different, uh, like it's built on top of Kubernetes, but the way we interact with it, it's like a little different. And I did not make this series as a cloud provider specific, right? Because of the various other reasons, like I have mentioned before, control plane is managed by cloud provider, and also it won't be helpful for the people that are working on other clouds. Let's say if I would have covered GK in this, and there are few people who are working on Azure or AWS, so they would have to learn another cloud just for the sake of learning Kubernetes, and that's not something that I found fair. So that is why it is based on the vanilla Kubernetes installation. And the next part of your question about third party tools such as KDA and so on. So these tools, again, this will not be part of this CK series. This CK series is dedicated to CK curriculum by CNCF. And those third party tools, yes, this is important. KDA is important. There are many other features of Kubernetes that are important, such as uh, such as custom resource definition, such as webhooks, such as there are many other things, but they are not part of CKA course. They are part of more of CKAD. So I will try to cover that separately once we are done with this series. And I will definitely make sure to create more production grade projects, to make more production grade troubleshooting scenarios for you. And in that, we'll cover these tools. So don't worry about it. Okay, so Chetan here, following the new CK series, does it help in also learning AKS in Azure? See, Chetan, and like whoever is listening to this, so the difference between Kubernetes and AKS or EKS or GKE is Kubernetes is the orchestration, the container orchestration tool that helps you manage containers, right, irrespective of where they are running. But then these managed services such as AKS, EKS, and GKE, they are built on top of Kubernetes. And it is managed. Managed means you don't have to worry about its scalability. Yes, you have to do certain tweaks, but again, you are not responsible for the control plane components. The upgrades will be automatic. You can do manually as well, but most of the times it is automatic. And most of the part of the administrative work is managed by the cloud provider itself. So there is not a lot of things that you can do, but if you have learned Kubernetes, it will be a piece of cake for you to learn any managed cloud provider service. So if you have learned how to work with Kubernetes, you have already covered 80% of what Kubernetes is, right? And the 20% will be covered in managed cloud providers such as AKS. So you can use any cloud after that. That doesn't matter. And it will be really straightforward. It will be really simple to follow. Okay. Taha is asking, what are the core components of Kubernetes that I should um, focus on? Wait, what are the core components of Kubernetes that I should focus on first? I would say just follow along with this series. I have covered everything in the sequential manner, like how you should be covering it. So, before understanding Kubernetes, you need to understand how container works. Okay, everything about containers. Then, with Kubernetes, you start with control plane. What exactly is control plane? What are nodes? What is master node? What is worker node? Then, what are the different components of control plane? And then you move ahead with the objects in Kubernetes, pods, services, daemon sets, stateful sets, and so on. So just follow along with this series. I have covered everything in the sequential order. And if you want to check the curriculum, you can check out the GitHub repository and the details will be there. And then what is stateless in Kubernetes? I have asked this question in an interview. Okay. So stateless is so there are two type of application, mostly stateless and stateful. Okay, stateless means in which you don't have to preserve the state after you are done with your work. Okay, so the containers that are running, which does not have a persistent storage or which does not need a persistent storage, they just store some data locally, and once the container restarts or the pod restarts, the fresh data can be loaded. That's not an issue. So those type of application are stateless in nature, and those type of applications can be handled by deployments in Kubernetes. So deployments is the Kubernetes object. When it comes to stateful need to have persistent storage. Stateful need to have data that is preserved even after the container restarts, and there is a one-to-one relation between the pod and the storage with that. So stateful sets are not covered in CK. Stateful are covered in CKAD, and in this we'll be covering the stateless applications mostly. Okay. So Devarshi is saying KX exact minimum requirement is 1.4 GB RAM. Should definitely run on 8 GB or 16 GB RAM without any issues. Yes, so I ran in I ran it in I have my Mac which is 8 GB and it works perfectly fine. Even I installed 3 to 4 cluster at the same time, so it works perfectly fine with the 8 GB RAM. So shouldn't be an issue. Thanks, Dave. Now Chetan is asking, I'm from Azure Infra background, learning Azure DevOps and Kubernetes and AKS and Terraform. Your videos are really helpful. Appreciate your efforts. So thank you so much, Chetan. I'm glad that videos are being helpful. And yes, I haven't covered anything AKS specific yet, but for rest, like for Azure I have an entire series for AZ900. For Azure DevOps, I have an entire series of 16 videos, and like it's around 16-20 hours of entire playlist. And Kubernetes, which is what we are doing, Terraform, I have a lot of videos, and it's not just with AKS. I have with EKS as well. I have with like without uh, Kubernetes as well. So there are a lot of real time projects that I have created in Terraform, and you can find the details in one of the playlists in my channel. So thank you, Chetan. Please make videos on AKS. Chetan, I do have a couple of videos with AKS. I believe it is one of the Terraform videos, so you can check that out. And yeah, we'll cover more in the future, definitely. Can we start Podman after this? ATQ swag. It depends if most of the people need that, right? So if I get a lot of feedback, if I get a lot of requests to start Podman, yes, definitely I can work on it. But again, like the playlist that I mentioned, like the playlist that I work on, it's mostly come from the requests that I get from my viewers. So if I get enough requests, I'll definitely work on. Thank you, Devarshi. Yeah, I just keep on experimenting with the lighting and background and everything. So thank you. I hope you like it. Okay. Hello, Nikhil. Thanks for joining us. Will this series provide us troubleshooting videos for Kubernetes? Yes, definitely. So there's gonna be, I believe there's gonna be 5 to 6 videos dedicated to troubleshooting each of the components. So how do we troubleshoot API server, HCD, controller, scheduler, and there'll be troubleshooting for worker nodes, application failures. So yes, there'll be definitely a lot of scenarios, and there'll be a lot of hands-on tasks that I will be providing you so that you can do that by yourself. And yeah, it'll cover a lot of those. Okay, Francis is asking what alternative lab environment can be deployed aside using cloud. Yes, Francis. So that's what we discussed about. We are using Kind cluster. So you can use either Minikube or Kind. There is K3s. There are a lot of options available. So I'll be using in this series, I'll be using Kind cluster and then KubeADM installation on virtual machine and then Kubernetes installation the hard way. So I'll be using 3 different ways which are alternative to cloud provider, and cloud we are not covering. This question I've already answered. Okay, so Vibhushit is asking roadmap to join cloud computing as a fresher. So Vibhushit, the roadmap it totally depends on your level of skills at this moment. Like, what are you trying to achieve? Where you want to go in the cloud computing? Cloud computing is not just one field, right? It has different components. So cloud computing, you can go with either administrative side of it. You can either go with data engineering side of it. You can go with DevOps side of it. So there are different parts of cloud engineering that you can focus on, and there is no one generic roadmap of it. But if you want to learn cloud or join in one of those areas as a fresher, I would suggest start with the basics. Start with Linux fundamentals. Install a Linux virtual machine on your system, or use Linux as your primary operating system. That's irreplaceable. You'll get a lot of learnings out of it. Then once you get a good grip on Linux, Unix commands, scripting and so on, then you can move ahead with Git and GitHub. Those are again the basic concepts. Then learn about networking concepts, learn about storage, TCP IP model, how it works, how to computer in the network communicate with each other, how DNS works, all the basic system design concepts like forward proxy, back reverse proxy, and so on, load balancing, all those concepts. And then you start with any of the cloud providers. Now, which cloud provider you should go with? Check out my channel. There is a dedicated video for that. It says which cloud provider you should go with in 2024, something like that. So it will provide you a good in-depth knowledge of which cloud provider you should be using if you are a fresher or if you are learning, right? So you can go ahead with the cloud, but cloud comes, it's not the first part of your learning. It's not first part of the roadmap that you are following. So you should start with basic and understand the basic, understand the fundamentals, get some good hands-on experience with it, and then move to cloud. Right. So then Rohit is asking, following your series, and I must say it's a jam. Can you please provide a roadmap for AWS? Oh, thank you, Rohit. AWS, like I've already mentioned, the same thing, and it depends on which part you are going. So once you are done with the basics of cloud and all the prerequisites that I just mentioned, you should go with all the hands-on scenarios. So implement the hands-on projects, build something that solves an issue, build something that is complex enough, build a 3-tier architecture application, do that manually, then do that with Terraform, then implement CI/CD on top of that, then implement monitoring, alerting, logging on top of that. you know so all the use cases can be fit, can be you can be proficient in that once you start doing hands on, and then share your learnings with other, create a GitHub profile, upload everything over there, try to write some technical blogs. So see, getting relevant skills is one thing, but you have to also showcase your skills. If the hiring manager or if the recruiter doesn't know that you have the skills, then you won't be able to apply those skills that you have learned in the job that you are looking for, right? So hands on is must, and try to do all the prerequisite first, that move to cloud, then see all the associated terms, all the associated tools and technologies that you can use along with the cloud, because cloud alone wouldn't help you give job. You have to cover all the things that completes the cloud. So yeah, that is my suggestion. Vibhushit, I have already answered your question. Devasmita, I am finding this series really helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone's support that I am getting so far. So I did not expect when I start this series, I'll be getting so many messages, I'll be getting so many likes and comments on the video, but you guys are just amazing. So thank you so much for your support so far. Keep supporting, and feel free to share your feedback, whether you like something or you dislike something. Even if you give me a negative feedback, it will be an opportunity for me to improve, because at the end of the day I am creating these videos for you guys, and if somehow I am not able to deliver that perfectly, so you should tell me, right, where I am lacking or what are the things that I need improvement on, and I'll definitely work on that. So no one is perfect, and I am improving myself day by day by the feedback that I'm getting from you guys. So please keep doing that and keep supporting, and I will continue doing this. Okay. Okay, so learning and getting a job as Azure DevOps, AKS, Terraform, Docker is complex. I'm from Azure infra background, having 10 plus of years of experience, doesn't have programming background. So I guess Chetan, yeah. So Chetan, you have a really good experience, and if you are already learning and implemented a lot of projects in Azure DevOps, AKS, Terraform, Docker, you see, nothing is easy. First thing is that nothing is easy. If it would have been easy, everyone would have done that, and there will be no unemployment in the market. Everyone would have been working in their dream jobs. It's difficult, that is why it is achievable, right? So if you keep working hard for it, if you keep doing the right things over and over, and for a certain time consistently, you will definitely see the results. There is no argument in that. And if you talk about you are not from the programming background, so I am also not from the programming background, so that doesn't stop us from getting the job that we want, right? So for a DevOps engineer, for a cloud engineer, programming is not one of the basic or mandatory requirement. Yes, you need to know how to troubleshoot the code. You need to know how to. You should be proficient in at least one programming language. It could be, let's say, Python or Golang or any of those. But the proficiency is not equivalent to what programming language you use to build the application code. You are not a application developer, right? So we use these programming languages in DevOps or cloud field to build automation around the application code, to create a CI/CD pipelines, or to automate the manual tasks. So you should know at least that much, and then that should be more than enough, right? So pick a programming language if you haven't done so far. So it's never too late, you know. I also even started my programming journey after 10-11 years of my career. In past 2-3 years, I only started working on Python and so on. So it's never too late, and it's you should know at least that much, that you can automate the task, that you can troubleshoot the code, you can dry run the code, you can have a look at the code, and you know what's going on in the code, right? Because one of the important role of a DevOps or cloud engineer is to troubleshoot the applications as well. So it's pretty handy. But yes, as I've mentioned, it's if it's easy, everyone would have done it. So you should be glad that it is hard, and only people who dedicate their efforts consistently would be able to achieve it. So that's a good thing, right? Okay, Subhash, please tell me database use of microservices. What is good practice using as Kubernetes stateful approach, or we use database cloud service? It totally depends. Like it, there is no one way of implementing this, right? So it totally depends on your use case, your requirements, your your budget, your performance requirements, and so on, and the type of application that you are hosting. So I'm not sure if I can answer that question without getting the enough details about it. But you can use, as I've mentioned earlier, you can use stateful application. Yes, if your application is not too heavy, or if you are in, let's say, if you are already using microservice architecture, that means you have separate databases which are a micro databases, which is not the entire data set. There is micro databases, and that's been attached to different microservices. So in that case, yes, definitely it will be good to have. But as I mentioned before, we don't use Kubernetes in all the scenarios. Kubernetes is not solution to every single problem. In There are certain cases where you have to run your application on legacy virtual machines, or it could be serverless, hosting the APIs, or getting triggered based on some events. So in those cases, you sometimes use managed database services. But in production, it's not a good practice to host your database on your virtual machines, because it comes with a lot of administrative work. Plus you have to code around high availability and fault tolerance. You have to code whenever there is a primary database failure, your application should switch to the read replicas and so on. So there is a lot of work, and it brings a lot of complexity when you install your database on your virtual machines. It could be a good idea in those cases as well to use as a microservice within Kubernetes, but it depends on the use case. Okay, Chetan, is I have watched your videos, DevOps, Azure DevOps 0 to Hero is really enough to crack Azure DevOps job. See, Chetan, uh, just watching the series or just watching the videos would not be enough. You wouldn't understand what issues you have faced. So many a times, so there are different type of interviews, okay, and most of the times people don't ask you the direct question like what is Azure DevOps or what is CI/CD, right? That's just for maybe for freshers, or that just for college grads, or sometimes these are not actual interview questions. So people in big organization, people avoid these type of questions, and they usually ask scenario based questions, right? Or questions like what issues, yeah, have you faced while implementing Azure DevOps CI/CD, okay, and how did you solve it? Or what was the most challenging part of it? What was the limitation that you found in Azure DevOps pipeline, or build pipeline, or release pipeline? Why would you prefer YAML over classic release pipeline? Such questions, right? So these questions you wouldn't be able to answer if you haven't done the hands-on by yourself. So when you do the hands-on, you build something, then you break something, then you fix something, right? So build, break, and fix, and that's where your learning starts. So make sure that you do enough hands on, make sure that you build project by yourself, Okay, and then only you will be able to answer those type of questions. Plus, the series that I had, although it covers most of the DevOps scenarios, it covers infrastructure as a code, it covers end-to-end CI/CD, automated testing, security, DevSecOps, and many other topics, including Kubernetes. But there are still many more topics that can be added to that. I will keep on expanding that series, but for now, you have to work on few other concepts. You have to understand the Git branching best practices, Git flow. How do we implement uh, automated logging, monitoring, and alerting in Azure using Azure DevOps? And there are few other topics. So I would say it depends on the level of role that you are applying to. For a fresher or for a 1 to 3 years of experience, it's good enough. But if you are more experienced, then you need to work on more CI/CD concepts as well along with it. Okay. Shubham, for Kubernetes, complete Docker Swarm knowledge is needed or understanding of Swarm is suffice. Okay. So let me tell you this thing. You don't need Docker Swarm knowledge to learn Kubernetes. Why? Because Docker Swarm is what? It's an alternative to Kubernetes. So before Kubernetes, we used to have Docker Swarm, which is again a container orchestration platform, just like Kubernetes. It had a lot of limitations, right? And for those limitations, Kubernetes came in picture. So Kubernetes eliminate all those limitations. So you can learn Docker or containers, and then you can move to Kubernetes. Docker Swarm is like not a lot of organization are using these days because it's not secure. There is no end-to-end encryption to that. You cannot install TLS certificates, and there are many other limitations. So that is why we use Kubernetes. So answer to your question, no, Docker Swarm is not required to learn Kubernetes. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you so much. So we, I don't I like those people who have been following me. People think that I only publish Azure videos. So it's not like that. I have a lot of AWS videos as well. I have entire GCP Associate Cloud Engineer certification playlist as well in my channel. It's called Namaste Google Cloud. It has 22 videos end to end. I have AZ900. I have Jenkins tutorials for beginner series. I have GitLab. I have DP900, and then CK is the latest one. Azure DevOps. Yes, you're already aware of it. So I work mostly on all three clouds: AWS, Azure, GCP, Kubernetes, anything related to DevOps. So DevOps and cloud I covered end to end. So there are some videos, there are some series that are just hiding in my YouTube because I created that earlier and there was not a visibility that I got. But if you are learning in any of those, if you are interested in learning any of those topics, so feel free to check out, go to my channel and then look for the playlist. And there are a lot of playlists that I have categorized. It will be helpful, I'm sure. Devsmita, we don't have a Telegram, but we have a Discord channel, and the link you can find on our website. So let me just share our website URL over here. Okay. Okay, over here. So I have just shared it in the comment section. Check it out. Okay, why I'm not able to paste it? Okay, there are some issues. I'm not able to. Okay, I guess it's been shared now. So let me pin it. So here's the website. Here is the website, thecloudopscommunity.org. Check it out, and on the website itself there will be a link for our Discord server. You can join that. Okay, okay, where were we? Da, 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 da. Okay, Jishan, hello from. Okay, you've joined from Pune. Hello. Already there is a video regarding cloud computing 2024. Okay, I am a DevOps beginner. What are the areas that I need to focus on building myself as a DevOps engineer? Francis, I would say, you know, for a DevOps engineer, you have to work on all those things that we have talked about, right? We'll start with the Linux fundamentals, then Git and GitHub, then all the fundamentals of system design, then go to containers, right? Like Docker containers. Pick a cloud, get some proficiency in that, get an at least one associate level certification, then go with Kubernetes. Then we have configuration management tools such as Ansible. We have infrastructure as a code tools such as Terraform. So observability like monitoring, alerting, logging using Elk, Prometheus, Grafana, those things. And then we have what else? Did I miss anything? Then we have the security aspect of it, right? What are the different tools and technologies that we used to secure our pipeline, secret management, and so on. So there are a lot of tools, technologies that you need to learn for a DevOps role. But the, I wouldn't say easiest way, but the better way of getting a role into DevOps engineering is go through cloud. Okay, focus on the prerequisites, focus on the fundamentals that we have discussed, learn the cloud, implement some projects, do some certifications, and then try to secure a job in cloud domain. Okay, and that job could be something called as cloud admin, cloud consultant, or a cloud support engineer. And once you are in the cloud, then from there, once you get the job, from there start learning other DevOps tools. Like once you are there, you can start learning Argo CD for GitOps, CI CD, observability, and so on. Right. So then it will be a good way. You can get the job as a DevOps engineer as a fresher as well. I have seen people getting it already. So you can do that as well, but it totally depends on the path that you want to take. But I would suggest go with the cloud computing route first, and then move your way ahead in the career by incorporating and learning new tools and technologies, and then go into DevOps. Okay, being as Azure admin or infra architect for all these my 10 years, switching to Azure DevOps and Kubernetes and Terraform, is it complex for future? It seems we need learn all these tools. I guess Chetan, I've answered your question earlier, but I mean, yes, Kubernetes is must have these days. That is why we are doing this series. Because when I asked, I actually, the way I have told you before, I actually, before creating any series, I actually ask my subscriber like which series they want me to cover next. And almost 70% of the people have requested for the Kubernetes series, because this is what is there in the demand. This is what people are asking these days in interviews. What they want people, the prospect candidate, to already be skilled enough to handle the Kubernetes cluster. Your AI ML workloads running on Kubernetes, your all the major banking applications running on Kubernetes, and the use cases, so on. Your live streaming that is happening these days, mostly running on Kubernetes. It is one of the must have these days. So to answer your question, would it be complex? Yes, it would be. But would it be worth it? Yes, ask yourself. It will be definitely worth it. So, and yes, you need to learn Kubernetes. Azure DevOps, I wouldn't say it is mandatory, but Kubernetes and Terraform is kind of mandatory these days. Okay, Manoj is saying, can we start after Linux administration? Yes, you can start this after Linux administration. Yes, Linux is one of the prerequisite for this series. So you should know the basic Linux command, how it works, what are the virtual machines, and so on. So I've tried to cover a little of it. So whenever I'm typing some commands, I'm explaining it in the first few videos. But then I cannot spend a lot of time in explaining Linux command. That is why after a few videos, I have moved up a little in the pace that I was going through earlier, and I focus mostly on the Kubernetes aspect of it. So it will be better if you know Linux administration part of it, or Linux in general for this series. Hi, Satish is saying, I have 2 years of experience as a DevOps engineer from AWS and Azure. What are the skills I must know? I mean, the roadmap. Satish, this we have already discussed, I guess, a couple of time in this live stream. So once this is done, once the video is published, you can check out the previous timestamps. You will find your answers. Dev Smita, can we please cover a video regarding LinkedIn strategies, mock interview for DevOps? That will be really helpful us. For sure, definitely. I will definitely create a video for LinkedIn strategy, but I can suggest the things that worked for me. I will tell you. So the reason we started 40 days of Kubernetes challenge as part of this series, okay, because I want you to be visible everywhere on the social media, so that you are not just acquiring skills, you are also showcasing your skills. And why I said it worked for me, because when I started my YouTube around 3 years back, okay, when I started it, I started publishing videos, I started writing blogs, and I started sharing my learnings in public on these platforms. And then people started noticing me, right? People started reaching out to me. I got my job in Google. I did not apply for it. I can show you the message if you want. And the LinkedIn recruiter reached out to me because I was visible enough on LinkedIn. Yes, I had a lot of years of experience along with me in my profile, but at the same time I was visible those days, right? And I'm visible now as well. I still get a lot of calls, even though I'm not looking for job. But that's what makes the difference. That's why your presence is really important. And the way you do it by writing technical blogs, the way you do it by uh, you know um, by contributing to the learning and helping others and so on. So I wouldn't suggest just do that to gain the followers, because you can just gain the followers by any tactics, like share and repost this if you want your job, or some, I don't want to talk about it, but you know what I mean. So share the content that you have created, give the reference to the people that helped you, and share your learnings with others, and something that could add some value to someone's learning. Let's say someone is learning Kubernetes, and if you created a blog that is beginner friendly, that is in the simplest possible language that anyone could understand, that is adding some value to that person, and that would give you some visibility you know so try to make your presence visible by doing all those things. Plus complete your profile, complete every section of your LinkedIn profile. Try to get the testimonials with your from your coworkers or your ex colleagues, and add the relevant skills, add your education section and your work experience section and everything. So basically complete everything in your LinkedIn profile, and um, not just showcase your profile, just try to help others as well, right? If there are a lot of communities, we also have a communities, people are always looking for help. If you help them, it will add some knowledge to your skills as well. Like, maybe there are some issues that you have not faced, but if someone is facing and you are helping them out, and if you are able to resolve that issue, so that means you already know this issue if you ever face this in future, right? So it will help, it'll be a win-win situation for both of them. Okay, Ibrahim is asking, can you share the Azure DevOps real-time project issues? What about day-to-day task? Azure DevOps real-time issues, I have shared in the series itself. There was a video, I guess it's at the very end, 14th or 15th video, which says about the frequently faced issues in Azure DevOps. So you can follow that. And because you have followed the entire series, I'm sure you would have also faced the same issues that I faced while implementing those projects. So those issues could be really handy. Like, why I'm saying this, that do hands on and you face the issue, you break things, then you fix the things. Those are the issues that you have actually faced. If you read it somewhere, or if someone is telling you that this is the main issue that someone is facing, then this is not something that you have worked on, and you won't be able to explain it properly in the interview. Okay, what you will be able to explain is what you have faced first handedly. So try to focus on implementing, try to focus on fixing things yourself, and then you should be able to implement that. I got image pullback of error yesterday after pulling the image from Docker Hub. How to solve that? Okay, so image pull back of error, there are different reasons for that. Okay, what I would suggest is first do Docker logs on the container, and then also do Docker disc. Okay, no, that's kubectl describe. We have not covered it yet, but there would be certain events why you get this error. So either you have not specified the image name correctly, image name or tag correctly. Either there is a typo in that, or there would be a permission issues if it is getting pulled from a private repository, or you have not did the Docker login. So image pullback off, that means you are facing issues with pulling the image. It could be connectivity issue, it could be permission issues, or it could be that image or that repository does not exist. So verify all those things. It should be one of those. Okay, after a long wait, Piyush finally started the series. Let's definitely complete 40 days of Kubernetes together. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. So yes, I spent a lot of time in this series. I spent last 30-40 days in recording, researching, and editing is still going on, by the way. So I recorded at least 1 to 2 videos every day for the past 30-40 days without taking any break. Even if I was ill, I still recorded it, and I actually put a lot of hard work to it. But I'm glad it is being helpful till now. Till now, we have only covered the Docker fundamentals. From Monday onwards, from tomorrow onwards, we'll be covering Kubernetes. So we'll be starting with the next video is about Kubernetes fundamentals, Kubernetes architecture, control plane components, worker nodes, control plane master node, then pods. That is about the next video. So I'm sure it will be a good learning experience for everyone. But thank you for your support so far. Okay. I'm working as a Office 365 admin, but I want to switch jobs in Azure DevOps. I recently started with AC900. It is good to switch in Kubernetes admin, or I can directly switch to Azure DevOps. If you compare Kubernetes with Azure DevOps, you see Kubernetes is kind of, as I've told you, mandatory these days. So even if you are going with Azure DevOps, using that Azure DevOps, somewhere, somehow, you will be deploying either one or two of your projects into Kubernetes. So I would say go with Kubernetes first. Okay. You have already understood the basics of Azure. That's good. And your Office 365 admin, that means your Linux and system admin concepts are also clear. So I would suggest going with the Kubernetes first and then move to Azure DevOps. And if you compare with the number of openings in the market, Kubernetes admin is kind of a generic role that works well with any of the cloud provider. Azure's DevOps is specific to Azure, right? So comparatively, Azure DevOps will have less number of openings in the market. So I hope I answered your question. Hello, Aditya. I want to learn Ansible from you. Yes, Aditya, definitely will plan something out. I'm just focusing on completing this series first, and then I have a few alternatives in my mind, and definitely I will ask everyone's suggestion on that. So I would either go with Linux administration, or I would go with CKAD, or Kubernetes real-time projects, Kubernetes advanced topics, or Terraform. So I'll give a lot of options for everyone to poll, and whatever feedback I get from everyone, I definitely work on that. Hello, Kalyan. Hello, Karan. Should we have any book or website for Docker apart from your videos? Um, I would say Docker documentation is a good place. So I mostly refer documentation, either Docker or Kubernetes documentation. It's up to date and it has the accurate information, but sometimes it is a little overwhelming for the beginners, right? So I would suggest the way you can take is first follow the videos, because in video I've tried to explain in the simplest possible language. And once you are aware about the concept, once you have done enough hands on, and once you know the fundamentals of it, then you can dig into documentation for more understanding. Right? Documentation is for in-depth knowledge, for all the best practices that you can use. um, and all the things that you can use along with that. Okay, I hope that is clear enough. Okay, Chetan, I have already answered your question this time. Kalyan is saying, I'm in Canada, I'm an international student, currently doing co-op in a startup company as a DevOps backend developer. Uh, okay, Kalyan, what level of knowledge is required as a junior intermittent level? Okay, so Kalyan, this we have already answered, right? Um, we have already answered this question about, because you are already doing co-op with the startup company as a DevOps and backend developer. Okay, I would say try to get a certification in cloud or okay, right? Try to get that and try to learn Kubernetes. Try to, so it's a combination of, cloud, Kubernetes, and DevOps, because in DevOps you are already working, so you must be learning something over there, you must be implementing something by your own. So make the most of it. Okay, use your learnings by building up some real time projects. Okay, yes, you are doing that as co-op, so that code or that processes that you are following, it's private to the organization, you cannot publish it outside, but using the same learning you can build something of your own, right? So while you are there, while you are doing the co-op, use that opportunity and try to implement on your own on the public repositories. And and rest I've already suggested about the certifications. um you know should be good enough. Vinay is asking, do we need to learn Bash script as a prerequisite? If yes, yes, this series covered. Yes, Vinay, you need to learn Linux Bash scripting, not so much for this series, but for overall learning Kubernetes, I would say you first should start with Linux and Bash scripting. That would be really handy. That will help you solve a lot of problems. So try to learn that. And yes, this series does not cover a lot of Linux or Bash scripting type of topics, else this would have been a never ending series, right? Because I've already covered a lot of other prerequisites. I've covered about Docker. uh, for Docker itself there are about 6 to 7 videos, right? And there are some other prerequisites like how DNS works, Docker and Docker networking I've already said. And we have, yeah, there are other prerequisites that I have covered, and if I have added the Linux and Bash scripting to it, there would be around 80 videos to this series, and it would have never ended. So maybe later on I'll cover a new series with Linux and Bash scripting, but for now, no, we don't have it. Aditya is asking, I'm doing internship that involves DevOps and Java based code base since a year in a company. Now I'm in fourth year. How do I grab a full time role? I need some cool package, full time job near NCR. So Aditya, the thing is, everyone need cool package. No one wants to settle with a lower package. Everyone needs a full time job. So see if Kashvi, Papa is on a call. अभी अभी देंगे जाओ आप प्लीज जस्ट गिव मी अ सेकंड ओके काशवी एक मिनट रुको बेटा लेट्स गो चलो हाँ नीचे जाओ मम्मा पास जाओ पापा पापा इधर तो कॉल पापा इधर कॉल हिमानी ले जाओ उसे यार Okay, sorry about that. My daughter just came in between. So yeah, so what I was saying is everyone needs a cool job, everyone needs a cool package, a full-time job based on their location. So it depends whether you are doing enough to do that. Yes, you can definitely get all these things. It's not impossible, but are you ahead of the competition that is there in the market? Right, if you are doing anything that not a lot of people are doing, have you built something that would made you a good candidate for this type of opportunity? So think about that. Try to work on your skills, try to work on your portfolio, your resume, try to work on building your presence online. Try to connect with people that are there in the same field and ask their advice. What have they done to get the job that they are currently on? What can they suggest you to work on next, right? And and I mean, acquire some skills that not a lot of fresher has. Like, let's say you are already um you are doing um you are already doing an internship in DevOps, right? So see what else you can do on top of that to get ahead in the market. You can maybe get some good level of proficiency in Java, because application development plus DevOps is a niche skill and not everyone has it. Because people who are developer, they don't want to focus a lot on the DevOps part of it, right? They just want to focus on writing their code. The same way, DevOps professionals, they don't want to focus on application development, because that does not involve their day to day job. They need to know how code works, how they need to build it, how to implement CI/CD on top of that, how to host the infrastructure, build the infrastructure, scale, and all those aspects. And they want to less focus on the application development. But if you get this skill, which is DevOps plus application programming and so on, you will be already ahead in the market curve, right? So, and this is just an example. So try to look at your skill, try to look at your experience, and see what additional you can add on top of it that not a lot of people are doing. Can you do certifications? Yes, definitely. So try to think if you can do either of those or both of those. Okay, I have a career gap of 1 year left. The last org on May 39. It is possible to get the job again. Yes, definitely, Chetan. There is, as I've said, there is nothing that can stop you doing that. It's just you have to prove to the hiring manager or the recruiter that during that 1 year, even though you left the job, you were not away from the technology, right? Why people don't prefer people with gaps is because they think you have already left your job 1 year back. Now your skills must be outdated in the market, your skills must be irrelevant in the market. Can you do anything to showcase that you are still relevant in the market? Maybe you did some certification, you can show that. Maybe you built some hands-on project, you can show that. Maybe you learned something, you took out some courses online, or you built something. So you can, there are different ways that you can showcase to them that you are still relevant in the market, you are still up to date. You had some issues due to which you had to leave your job, but that did not stop you from learning, or that did not stop you from upskilling, right? If you can showcase that, then that's all they want. Okay. Aditya sir, I can fix your blog section of your website. Would you? Aditya, actually, it's work in progress. The website is just work in progress, so we are already working on it. But I really appreciate your hands for that. Uh, you can join our community calls in Discord server, and we can discuss if there is a need where we can you know take your help. So thank you for that. I left due to personal reasons, but all recruiters are keep asking about career gap. Yeah, so that's what I told you. I've already answered your question. So maybe try to work on that explanation, like um, all the things that we have just discussed, right? That what you did in that 1 year of gap, what all the things that you have learned, or what all the things that you can bring to the table if they would hire you, right? So that would be helpful. Mohammed is asking, can you arrange a podcast of 2-3 people who are already working in Azure admin and DevOps? I can definitely bring like I already have that in my to do list. It just because of the CK series I did not get time. So once I complete this series, I'll definitely bring on people. And the series that I have created, whether it is Azure series or Azure DevOps series, it's based on my working experience. I worked for many years as an Azure admin. I worked for many years as an Azure DevOps engineer, and now I'm working with GKE, as a technical support developer. So um, so all those playlist, all those videos that I have created, it's based on my real time experience. But yes, definitely will think about it. I already have in my to do list, so we'll definitely get someone. Do we need to give ACR pull permission in spite of I having ACR, in spite of I was using ACR 8 and Azure Kubernetes? I sorry, your question has some typos or it's not very clear. Do we need to give arc pull permission instead of using ACR 8 and Azure Kubernetes? Sorry, I don't understand your question. Can you please elaborate this further? And I'll also explain what you are trying to do and if you are facing any error. So let me know that. Sangati Vam Krishna, thanks for all your hard work and bringing CK series. Really thankful for aspirant of Kubernetes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sangati. I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate your kind words. There are so many things to learn and practice. It is mandatory to learn and practice all of them to get a job. Being 11 years of experience as infra architect role. Um, Chetan, yes, I know there are so many things to learn and practice, and it is mandatory to practice all. See, you have 11 years of experience as an Azure architect, right? So for an 11 years of experience, they would expect a lot of things. In this market nowadays, irrespective of the country that you are in, people are doing a lot of cool stuff. They are building many new things. They are doing a lot of certifications. They are getting real time hands on experience in many tools and technologies. So it's not enough to just do a couple of things and be done with it, right? So you have 11 years of experience, and if you are aiming for the job that requires 11 plus years of experience, that yes, you need to learn a lot of things for that. I have AWS SA certification right now, preparing for CK. That's really good, Kalyan. And I would like I've mentioned before. So try to implement the projects as well. Try to implement all the learnings that you have gone through with SSA or with Kubernetes. Try to build some cool projects out of it as well. If you are following CK series, at the end of this series we will have a couple of projects that is real time, that is good enough to showcase in your resume. So stay tuned for that. And you can just Google around, you can build something out, um, and you can utilize your learnings with that. Ansible or Kubernetes, where to start with? I would say Kubernetes. I'm a little biased toward Kubernetes, but I would say with just Ansible knowledge you won't be able to secure a good job, but with Kubernetes knowledge you would be able to. So yeah, Kubernetes would be my answer. uh, Rahul Raj, so thank you. She is asking about my daughter. She just barged in few minutes back. Okay. What tools and tech to learn so that one can get an entry level job and enter into this domain? I've already explained this multiple times in the previous few minutes. So once we have done the live streaming, it will be published, so you can check out the video. Actually, I started this live to answer CK specific questions for the series that is going on, but there were only a few questions of CK, and most of the people are asking for Azure DevOps, Azure, and career guidance. That's okay too. It just I was expecting more of a CK question because I know a lot of people are following the series, a lot of people are sharing their progress daily. So I just wanted to understand what issues they are facing and if somehow I can help them. Like yes, we are helping um with the Discord community, and I try to comment reply on the YouTube comments as well, but I was looking for more of CK specific questions as well in this live. But anyways, this is good enough too, that's not an issue. I'm currently working as a DevOps engineer with a very low salary. I have received a job offer for a digital role at TCS. Please guide me. What should I do? So Shubham, I am not sure what a digital role is. So if you could just um, provide me some idea. Is it digital marketing that you are saying, or something else? So try to elaborate this role, and if you are getting a good salary, or I mean, digital marketing. If it is a digital market, I'm just going with the assumption. So is it something that you want to do, or is it something that you want to see yourself doing for a long time? If not, that I would suggest to wait for the right opportunity. Okay, and if you can provide me these details, I can definitely work on the next suggestion of it. Okay, what are the day-to-day activities of an Azure admin? So Vijay, it depends on your organization, it depends on the project that you are working. So when I was working as an Azure admin, I'll tell you what I was doing. So I was working for a bank, is Bank of Montreal in Canada. I was working as a contractor from Cognizant, and over there I was working on automating their CI/CD pipeline. So we have different services, we have different Azure logic apps, we had Azure functions, we have Azure web apps. So there were different projects that were running in the bank. So my task was to automate uh, any project that has been onboarded to Azure, or improve the existing CI/CD pipelines, right? So that's one task. The other, so it was more of a admin plus DevOps role, right? So that's one task. The other was infrastructure management. Like I said, if any new application is onboarded to Azure, we have to implement CI/CD. But before implementing the CI/CD, um I had to also provision the infrastructure using ARM template. So we were not using Terraform in that project. I was using ARM template and Bicep. So ARM template, Bicep, along with Azure DevOps. So I had created a lot of Azure DevOps pipeline, and in that I was using ARM template and Bicep to provision and manage the infrastructure. So those were the main tasks, infrastructure as a code, CI/CD, um, and troubleshoot the application issues. So I was working with developers, and if they are implementing a new application, or for their existing application, if they were facing any issues, because I had the admin access to their subscription, I used to log in, and I used to find out the issue, troubleshoot is, fix that, or provide them suggestion for the improvement. So those were the main tasks. I was not using Kubernetes at that time, but I was mostly working on serverless applications, web apps, virtual machine scale sets, and so on. Right. Can you please share Jenkins declarative and imperative script? Okay, so Bharat, if you go to my channel, there is a playlist which says Jenkins tutorial for beginners. In that, there'll be an entire 1 hour long video for declarative pipeline. So you can check that. And the playlist itself has 7 videos, so you can watch them if you want. And imperative pipeline, I don't have any videos for imperative, because for imperative pipeline you need to learn Groovy as well. So you need to learn a programming language which is Groovy, and only then you will be able to create the imperative script, right? So I have also explained the difference between declarative and imperative pipeline in that, so try to look at that, and that will answer your question. Kabil is saying learning Ansible will help in learning basics of automation. It also helps in more Kubernetes learning and implementation of Kubernetes cluster formation easier with Kube Spray. So I have a doubt, sir. Yes, Kabil, please ask your question. But I would say, yes, Ansible would help you learning automation. No, it's not really. I mean, people can use it for different purpose. You can use Ansible for continuous deployment. You can use it for any other purpose as well, but its main task was configuration management. Let's say you have hundreds of VMs running in your company, in your subscription or whatever. How can you manage all those VM together? How can you run, let's say, upgrade command all the VM at once? That's configuration management, and that was the main purpose behind using Ansible. But since then it was used in different ways. People use it for, as I've told you, for configuration management plus continuous deployment, for monitoring, and there are other use cases. But that was not its main purpose. And okay, now you are saying about cube spray cluster formation will be easy. I would say first try to do that manually. Okay, do that manually. Do that on client cluster. Do that on virtual machines with kubeadm. Do that the hard way, and then move to any other third party tool or Terraform, or with a managed cloud service. So that should be the sequence that you should be following. Vijay, for providing you, I have gone through Terraform series. If possible, please make a small video in which Terraform modules and Terraform workspace together. Okay, definitely, I'll try to work on that. But I guess Terraform workspace is not part of their free plan. It's part of their premium offering, but I will try to look into that. Shakil is saying, I have completed some trainings and certification related to Azure, AWS, OCI, CKAD, generic DevOps. Now with 14 years of experience in integration infra and recently joined cloud team. That's good. Congratulations, Shakil. And you have a follow up question. So shall I target for DevOps role or cloud related role? See, Shakil, it depends on, because you have a good years of experience. Now it depends what type of role you want to see yourself doing for the next few years, right? um I would say, because you have a good experience, I would say try to look for cloud architect related roles, because that is something that requires an extensive experience and it pays good. It's good, but it depends on the level of interest you have in those areas. So that's what I would say. And try to look into that and see if you are interested in that. You can move into DevOps or any other cloud roles as well, but if we compare it with the cloud architect or a solution architect role, uh like my personal opinion is go with that. Okay. um thank you Akash Punekar for your support. I'm sure you are following up with the series, and I'm glad that you found the videos helpful. So thank you. Rahul is saying, can we cover advanced Kubernetes service as well? Yes, Rahul, that's what I said. uh, I said this couple of times. Yes, we will be covering as advanced Kubernetes services that is not part of CKA, but we'll be covering once we are done with CKA. CKA was meant to be for beginners into Kubernetes, beginners into cloud and DevOps, and it's more of a beginner to intermediate level kind of course, right? So we are not covering those advanced topics. Just we have, let's say KDA, or we have webhooks, admission webhooks, we have custom resource definition, we have stateful applications. Those are not covered in this series, but we'll be covering that later on, so don't worry about it. In AZ900, if we are giving exam in center, how and when we'll get the results, and how we will get the certified badge? So Akash LS, you will get the certification results, I guess, within few hours or within 1 hour. I haven't given the Azure exam in quite some time, so I'm not sure what the process is. Earlier, I got that instantly. Like any Azure exam that I given, they used to publish the result instantly. So you should be getting it then and there, and then you will receive the badge over the email. If you have an account on Credly, it will be auto accepted in Credly, else you will receive that in email. So don't worry about it. If I'm targeting cloud architect role, which one to choose for preparation, and what level of DevOps and Kate's skills are expected? Okay, so if you are going with the cloud architect role, so Kate skills, yes, from the administrative part, you should be good enough. Not from the application development part, but for the CK, should be covering it. CK plus the curriculum of CKS, Kubernetes security. So you should know end to end how security works in Kubernetes. And DevOps also, you need to understand the basics of it. So, you see, the role of cloud architect or cloud solution architect is, If you are working in a product based company, you work with your customer, understand their requirement, and then you suggest an end to end solution as per their use case, right? So you should know all those things on a high level, and for a certain area you need some expertise. But there are some mandatory like Kubernetes, and currently we have Gen AI and AI/ML if you are in a product based company, and those are also part of that learning curve. But that's what is expected out of you based on their requirement. You should be able to suggest them solution, so you can prepare that accordingly. Okay, I guess we are on the top of the hour. This was meant to be a 1 hour live session, but it has gone above to that. So let's I'll try to finish that in next 8 minutes. Okay, so I'll be a little quicker now. I have did a couple of CI/CD project with a Java code, Jenkins, GitLab, and I implemented deploys Argo CD in cloud managed K8s and GKE. Currently, my co-op is going to end. As of now, doing GitHub Actions and KOps, I'm seeking full-time opportunity. Most of the jobs were asking 3 to 4. Okay, you see, Kalyan, this will always be the case, right? I understand that you have done a lot of things and you are working on some cool projects, and people will always ask you for a lot of experience. But that would be 90% of the cases. There'll be 10% of the cases where they would uh, what is it, they would consider your application, they would consider your resume, your experience based on the projects that you have done. So you need to target those 10% jobs, and in those 10% jobs, yes, you might have to give, let's say, 50 interviews, and you will get rejection in 49 of those. But only thing that you are looking for is that one interview, that one acceptance. Okay, so just keep working towards it. Don't get depressed, uh, don't be sad about it that you are getting rejected or they are asking a lot of experience and so on. Try to look for some ways in which you can showcase them that yes, you are as good as a 3 years of experience, right? This is what you can bring to the table. Even if you are a fresher, that means you'll be working on the fresher salary, right? But you can bring the experience of a 3 years experienced person. So it will be a win-win situation for both of you, because the company is getting a resource with experience as good as 3 years, but they only have to pay the fresher salary, and you will be getting a job, right? That's what you are looking for. So try to aim that, try to do that consistently, try to keep the upskilling journey, and I'm sure you will get your dream job. Okay. Bharadraj, okay, it's CK exam able to crack by watching current ongoing series. Yes, but not just watching. You have to do the hands-on by yourself. So everything that I'm doing in the series, most of the part is hands-on. So try to do that hands-on by yourself, and then only, because the CK exam, it's not multiple choice question. It's the hands-on exam. You will be given a set of tasks. You will be given sandbox environments where you have to fix the issues, where you have to implement certain tasks, and you would only be able to clear that if you have done the hands-on by yourself by acquiring the required knowledge. So make sure you understand everything and then you do the hands-on. And yes, if you have followed this entire series, done the all the hands-on that are given in this series plus the assignments, then yes, definitely you will be able to clear that. Okay, I've been following Kate from Date. It's a wonderful series. Thank you so much. Can we do one video on deploying 3-tier architecture to AKS? Venkat, as I've mentioned, I'm not doing anything specific to AKS or any cloud provider in this series. If I do AKS video, then there'll be many people who are working on GK or who are working on EKS, and they will ask me to do on those, and it will be a never ending series. Plus, it's not really a cloud provider specific series. To answer your question, I'll definitely cover this. Is already in my to-do list to deploy 3-tier architecture on all 3 cloud providers, AKS, EKS, and GKE. But I will do that in a separate series, not as part of this one. I'm a software developer, so AZ900 with certification Azure, should I take up 204, or what would you say? 204 is, I guess, Azure developer certificate. If that is the case, then yes. you can go with that, or you should go with the CK. Oh, you are the developer, right? So you can aim CKAD if you want after that. But yeah, 204, if it's Azure developer, then yes, that should be good. I've been at Cognizant for a year and have 10 years of experience in traditional IT. I'm transitioning to Azure DevOps after passing AC400. I realized Linux is crucial, so I'm learning it. Yes, Amit, that's really good path that you are taking, and yes, Linux is crucial. Actually, you should have done Linux before AZ400 or before any cloud, but that's okay. Like now that you have done it, yeah, you can do the Azure learning parallelly or the Azure DevOps learning parallelly as well. Part of Docker. Okay, exposing 3000 to 3000 internal external port is default port. No, that is not the external that is not the default ports, or is it? No, I don't think it's the default port. You can, so these are the high range ports. Okay, you can choose any high range ports out of that. So look for the high range ports and you will get your you will get a range from, I guess, 3000 to 32,000 something, or I'm missing something maybe. So try to get that and you can choose any of the port range out of those, whatever is available. And planning for CK is the right path. Do you know any Azure DevOps connection project at Cognizant? I actually know Azure DevOps projects in CTS, but it's in CTS Canada. So in India, I'm not really sure. Oh, thank you, Francis. Thank you for your feedback. Is it mandatory to push image to Docker registry to run project? It's not mandatory, but it's something that you would do in a real time project. So the idea of using Docker, or the main reason we run Docker is to create an immutable infrastructure, right? So you build something on one environment and you package it with the application code, with the binaries, with the dependencies, and you move that to multiple environments. But how would you move that to multiple environments? You should not be moving it from one environment to another because it's not a central repository. What if someone makes the changes at one location and there is no version controlling in that? You wouldn't know who made the change, why the change was made, and someone deleted the package, it will be gone, right? So there are a lot of issues with that. That is why you need a central repository where you keep the images. So Docker Hub is the default public registry, and there are other registries that you use. You have Nexus, you have JFrog Artifactory. Every cloud provider has their own repository, such as ACR, Azure Container Registry. We have, for Google Cloud, it is, which registry? I guess it's Artifact now. Earlier, they were using Google Cloud Registry. Yeah, GCR is the default one, Google Cloud Registry. For AWS, we also have a cloud registry and so on. So yes, that's why we definitely need to do this. Okay. Okay, so he's asking why don't I teach in Hindi? The reason is that the whole point of me doing this, creating the videos and making it available to everyone, is so that I could create a larger impact, right? If I only target the Hindi audience, even though my mother tongue is Hindi, I am proud of my language. It just, I won't be able to make the impact that I have targeted, right? So I will only be able to teach a particular set of students, and I don't want to do that. I want to make this education accessible to everyone free of cost, irrespective of their language, irrespective of which country they belong to or which language do they speak and understand. That is why I have chosen a common language that is important in all the countries, that is equally understood in all the countries, in most of the countries, I would say. And that is why I'm teaching in English. Other thing is, even if I teach you in Hindi, okay, let's say if I teach you in Hindi, but when you going to give the interview, when you are trying to get the job by the learning that you got from the Hindi video, you would have to give your interviews in Hindi. No, right? You would have to do that in English only. So why don't we learn in English, and then you don't have to worry about how I'm gonna present myself in the interview? Because even if you understand everything in Hindi, you have to explain them in English. And then you would have to look for the interview questions. That's not the right way of doing things, right? So to sum up, that is why I have started this channel in English. Multi-stage Docker file project. Once I ran to-do website was not exposed. That is unable to get the to-do website. What might be the problem? The reason it is not working because I intentionally left a mistake in the Docker file. Okay. So try to figure that out, and I'm sure you would be able to do that. Okay. It's based on the same thing I have done in the day 2 video, but I did not do it in the day 3 video. So see what is missing. What is the important step that is required so that the application will be exposed. So once you're able to figure that out, you will figure out what's the issue is. See, we are applying to cloud position in US. Can we apply the jobs from India, or it necessary to move to the? Yeah, it'll be very difficult if to apply for a remote jobs. You can try freelancing. You can try on websites Upwork.com and so on, or you can try to get it from your connections over LinkedIn, Twitter. It's not easy to do that, and you need to be really proficient in what you do. You need to be really uh, visible on the social media so that those job providers will reach out to you by their own. You don't even have to apply for that. So that's what I would say. 4 years of experience working as a DevOps engineer. Can I get a referral in Google from you? Is there any way to connect one to one? Okay. So Siddhant, I would have loved given a referral to you or anyone like that is looking for a job. The thing is, this is not the way referral works. Okay. So when I will refer someone, the first question it will ask me, have you ever worked with this person, or have you ever seen working with them, or what they work and about their skill sets? And I should not be lying over there, right? Because if I'm referring someone, that means I am rooting for someone's skills. Like whatever happens, if that candidate would not be as good as I've said, I will be responsible for that, right? So I only refer, and the ethical way of giving the referrals is to refer only those person who you either have worked with personally, or for those who like about their skill sets and like what they are capable of. So that's the main prerequisite of giving referral. Yes, you will see on LinkedIn, on Twitter, people giving you a Google Doc and asking referral publicly. If anyone needs referral, PM me. Many people do it for referral bonus. I don't. I have my own ethics, and I don't do anything for referral bonus or anything else. So if we have worked before together, and if I know that you are good enough for the job, then yes, definitely I will refer you, and that's the only way I know I refer people. Okay. How can we optimize our Docker containers with Ubuntu base image and Apache running inside it? So Ujjwal, first is in the Docker documentation page, there is a section where it says Docker best practices. Okay, try to look into that. It has various suggestions, and first one is not to use or to use a distro-less image, so that your image size is small. Use multi-stage builds. Use and there are a few other things that you can keep that in practice. Okay. So those are the things that you should be looking into, and then you can install Apache on top of it. But don't go with the Ubuntu image. Pick some lightweight image. Pick, let's say, Alpine, or pick some other lightweight image that your application supports. Okay. Yes, Amit, you can message me on LinkedIn, but again, as I've told you, I don't know any openings, or I'm actually not aware of any contact with CTS with Azure DevOps in India. Okay. Can you make LinkedIn profile and resume building session one day? Yeah, definitely we can do that. Yeah, we have already discussed this. We'll definitely create a video on that. Thanks for doing this. What's your approach on getting a better understanding on Kubernetes as an SRE, CKAD way of structured learning better than CKA while starting out? I would say CKA is better. There are many topics that overlap between CKA and CKAD, but CKAD is more focused on the development in Kubernetes, right? It's more focused on building on stateful apps, building on custom resources, building out admission webhooks, and so on. CKA, on the other hand, is mostly focused on the administrative part of it. How would you provision a highly available cluster? How would you upgrade it? How would you do database backups and restores with the help of snapshots? How would you scale it, or vertical order scaling, horizontal order scaling, and so on? So I would say CKA would be the better approach. Okay, Ujjwal is saying 3-4 years of experience in IT support. I'm too underconfident about my skill. What should I do to crack a better DevOps job? See, Ujjwal, first you have to work on yourself. If you are underconfident, if you are not able to tell yourself that you are confident enough or you are capable enough to build your job, how will a recruiter or hiring manager would trust you? First, you have to build your mindset. First you have to build your skill set. First you have to upskill yourself. First you have to prepare yourself for the job, technically, fundamentally, and mentally. In the mind also, you should also be prepared that yes, I have learned everything, I have implemented everything, now I am ready for the job. Only then go for the job, only then try to look for the jobs. First you have to work on yourself. Okay, this underconfident thing, it could happen with everyone. It happened with me, it happened with a lot of folks. But it's important how you tackle it. It's important how you make this as an opportunity for you to learn and grow, right? So try to work on yourself and try to gain the necessary skills. And once you are in that position that yes, now I feel good, I feel good about myself, about what I have learned in past few months, what I have built in past few months, I think I am ready for the job. Then start applying for the job. Okay, if we have done the AZ certification, what is the next step so we can better job in cloud? Akash, doing the certification is just one step, and it will not help you in long run. Doing the certification means you are doing something to elevate your resume, which gives you some edge in the market, but it will only help your resume get shortlisted. After your resume is shortlisted, once you get the interview call, it totally depends on what you have learned, your skills, your past experience, what you have faced, what you have fixed, all of those things. So make sure you do the enough hands on. Okay, make sure you um make sure you do build the projects, make sure you do the troubleshooting by yourself, and so on. Only then you will be able to uh, justify yourself to the interviewer. Okay, I was told for an SRE CKD would be better, thinking from the dev side of things and then actually doing more of ops. Is it a better approach? Of if that is the case, what I'll do is I'll check with some SRE. Okay, I don't want to give you something that I'm not fully sure of. So I'll check with some SRE that are working in Google. I'll check with them. I'll get their perspective on this, and then I'll get back to this. Okay. So ask me this question on any other live stream, or ping me, let's say after a few days on LinkedIn or the Discord server, and I'll get you the answer. Okay. What are the better DevOps project that you can suggest? Some mandatory skills that okay. So for that, look for this. Let me share the GitHub repository. So we have 10 weeks of cloud ops challenge that we started in our community few months back. I guess it was last year, and it has 8 cloud and DevOps project. Some are complex enough to get you a good job, and try this out. Okay, so this is the link. I have shared the link in the comment section. So get this link and you will find all the details over there. It will have the solution, it will have the blogs, YouTube videos, everything that you need. Okay, so try to implement those and should be good. So would love to know how SRE team function at Google while working on containers and Kubernetes. So there are different SRE teams, there are a lot of SRE teams, and for you it's just Kubernetes, or for you it's just GKE. But for the cloud provider, it's um, node team, it's control plane team, it's HCD team, it's API server team. So for every single component, kubelet, kubeproxy, for every single component there is a separate SRE team, right? So wouldn't be wouldn't be getting a lot of details like how it works and how everything works. But what I'm planning is, I was actually planning for a long time. It just I gave priority to the CK first, but I am also planning to do a podcast series where I will. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, so I was also planning to do a podcast series where I will be inviting a lot of working professionals from different domains, from technical account management, from SRE, from solution architect, and so many professional roles from different companies, Azure, like Microsoft, Google, and so on. And I will be asking them these questions on the video itself, so that you get your answers. You get your answers, right? So yeah, that's I will do that. I've already that is already there in my to-do list. Okay, so I voted for YouTube, but open stage would be equally good. You mean for the live stream sessions? If yes, then yeah, then definitely let's do that from the next time. Even I could have done that today, but no one really requested that. I could have shared the link and you can come on to the live stream with me and ask your question on the real time, but let's do that from the next time. Is there any roadmap that you would suggest, or the yes, that above GitHub repo would work fine. So you follow from week 1 project till week 8, and it will cover every single scenario of DevOps and cloud. Do we need single page resume or more than one page resume? Because to get shortlisted, I have a doubt. I'm currently in USA as a master's student. So anything that goes from 1 to 2 page should be good enough. Don't create a resume longer than 2 page, but it can go up to 2 page. That's not an issue with any of the ATS tracker. Akash, if you have followed, okay, you mentioned about the cloud projects. Okay, so Akash, if you have followed this 10 weeks of cloud ops, I've already shared the link. So it will have all the projects that you can implement. Plus, you can implement the project that I have shared in the Azure DevOps series. That should be more than enough for any Azure roles. How would you showcase that in a resume? You build out that project by yourself, you create blocks around it, you create GitHub profile around it, and you can add the link to your blogging website and your GitHub profile in your resume, and that's how you show your projects. Okay, so I guess we are done with all the answers, and I have to press somewhere now. It's been almost 2 hours since we started this session. So thank you everyone for asking so many important questions. And thank you, Akash. Yes, thank you everyone for joining me with this live stream. We'll be doing this every weekend, I'm planning. But if you have any questions, any assistance that you need, you can always ping in our Discord server. Link is there in our I've shared the website link with you, the CloudOps website. Discord link is there itself. You can find it out, and you can also comment on the YouTube video. And I always reply to every single comment, right? So you can do that. And thank you so much. I wish you have a good rest of the weekend, whatever is left of it, and I will see you soon. I will see you actually tomorrow with the new video, and there'll be back to back 4 videos again for the next 4 days for the CK series. I'm sure you will enjoy it. So try to complete the comments and like targets of these videos, and try to do the hands on, try to complete the task given in the GitHub repository for the entire series. and showcase your learning with others, and also try to follow all the prerequisites that I've mentioned in the task.md file, like how would you submit your work for 40 weeks, 40 days of Kubernetes challenge. Okay. So thank you and have a good day, have a good night, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.